Oh, it's a few uncomfortable moments at the timer at zero. I didn't check out the end of that one. Hello, Spurs fans. Hotspur Hippie here. Glory, glory, Tottenham Hotspur. I'm feeling it today. There was me. I had a good fun old day streaming yesterday, and then went to bed. And I was a bit restless, tossing and turning, and then oops, just kicked over a cut there, and then my phone, because when last weekend when I was waiting for Ange Postecoglou to be announced, I put that thing on Twitter where it says, "Be an annoying thing if Tottenham Hotspur official do a tweet," and lo, at 20 to 1 this morning. Oh, I can't sleep anyway. And there it was. What did I see? Oh, look at this goodness. Look at this goodness. If I can find the right bleeding button here. Technology, eh? Oh, look at this. Oh, that's not right. There we go. Big Ange. Oh, let's give him all of it. Oh, look at that, man. Look at him. Look at his happy little face. Ah, just going to leave that up there and bask in the glory of Ange. And then he did his little teaser for the upcoming season. I'm looking forward to a real press conference. But that weren't bad, you know. Hang on. Where are we going here? Comments. There we go. What did he say? You know, it was just the look on his face. I thought, that is a man that is happy to be at Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. That's what I thought. I thought, there's a man that's champing, not chomping. You know, the people that say chomping at the bit, it's champing at the bit. He was ready to unleash all his Postecoglou-ness on N17, and he said a couple of things. The fine traditions of this club going to get us excited and proud. No stone will be unturned. Isn't that good to hear a manager sort of be, I don't know, positive in a way, in a generous way, not positive in a, yeah, I'm so good, I'm going to just do this really good. You had a man there just being positive and open. And one little thing that caught my eye, it was just a particular way he said one word when he says the traditions of this football. I can't quite say it myself, but he's got a very specific intonation on the word football, and it warmed my heart. Something silly this, but it warmed my heart because here in Australia years ago there were these two football presenters, Johnny Warren, who used to be he played for Australia, and he played in the '74 World Cup for Australia when they're all like part-time bricklayers and plumbers. And the World Cup at that stage only had 16 teams in the world, not 10 million that they have now, just 16. So Australia got to the World Cup in '74. I don't think they win anything or anything like that. I don't think they scored a goal, actually. I think they drew maybe 0-0 with East Germany. But he was an old stalwart, Johnny Warren, of promoting football in Australia. And usually, like Johnny Warren was an Anglo Aussie. Very, I knew not so he would have just as I was saying in the video yesterday about Ange facing stick because of his nationality and background. Johnny Warren would have probably faced an awful lot of stick because soccer in this country, mate, I don't know what it's like now, but more back then, it's like real men don't play soccer. Real men play rugby league. Real men play AFL. If you play soccer, you must be some sort of girl or something. They used words much worse than that, but if you're Australian, we know what we're talking about. And I'll get to the comments in a minute. I just want to get all this off my chest, and then we can have a chat. So that was one guy, and the other guy was this guy called Les Murray, or Laszlo Murray. He was a Hungarian. He escaped from Hungary, like when it was all kicking off over there. He escaped. I mean, bloody hell, man! You think you've got a hard life sometimes. There's people escaping things and all that sort of stuff. Wow. But he said football. I can't even say it, man. It's my English mouth. It can't do it. But he used to say that in the same way. Welcome to the world game, football. And it's just that pronunciation, because both of these people unfortunately passed away. Johnny Warren passed away several years ago, and Les Murray a few years ago. But they really meant something to me, because when I came over from England, I knew the reputation of soccer in Australia, or football, and I was really worried that if there was any on the telly, am I just going to get some dumb Aussies going, what's all this? So seeing those two on the TV and how much they cared about the world game, as soon as I saw them, actually, I remember the feeling. It was like, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. These guys know what they're talking about, and over the years, I formed the opinion really that these two were the best football presenters I'd ever seen, better than the ones in England. They just there was something about them. They used to have discussions. They wouldn't always agree. Just a comment there. I'll get onto that in a minute. That's quite a funny one. I just felt that football, it was going to be okay, and they're on this channel over here called SBS, and their coverage. My first World Cup over here was France '98, and they were superb. You couldn't have had better hosts. They were just on the money, and they did so much for football in this country. Unfortunately, since both of them passed now, it looks like a lot of the stations and TV. SBS is a station over here that really caters to migrants, I guess you could say, not your Anglo skips. And they've dropped the ball on football as well. So it's kind of, it's always one step forward, two steps back in this country with football, unfortunately. But, there's a lot of kids out there playing it. My oldest daughter, they're going to be champions this year for their Balmain club. So that's awesome. Playing grown-up footy now. Oh dear, them are the days going to take kids to soccer. I used to just distance myself from all of them because they were just feral, man. Having to go at the referee and swearing at the kids. I'm thinking, ugh, disgusting. So I was really pumped to see that little teaser of Ange and him there holding up the shirt. Look at it. Isn't that glorious? Isn't that a beautiful sight? Tottenham Hotspur. It even says Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. Bloody hell. I don't see that on much official merchandising or official stuff. It's usually Tottenham Hotspur. But they've gone to the trouble of putting the FC in. So maybe Ange is having a bloody effect on these people already. Fantastic. So I finished watching the video and I was just full of energy. And luckily, because Australia's in a weird time zone. Even at 2 o'clock in the morning, there's always people I can call all over the world. So I had a good old chat with Jacob of United Spurs of America, just to let some of that energy out. And you know what, it was fantastic. All right, so let's see who's in the hood. All right, Luca. G'day, mate. G'day, Paul, mate. How's it going? Good luck. All the best with all of this. We never, yes, man. Luca, that's it. We never stop. We stop at the heart. We stop at half time. We stop at the final whistle when we celebrate. But before that, we never stop. Awesome, man. Awesome. Fantastic. Aaron, real men play GAA. I know they do. And I'll tell you what, the real men come from Tyrone, County Tyrone, champions of 2021. So, forget all your Derrys and all that. And poor old Dermot on THFC Till I Die, Wexford, when they last went it, like 1930 or something like that. So Tyrone is my team. That's where a load of my family are from. Tough game though, really good game, Gaelic and hurling as well, brilliant. We won't say the other words, man. Blown a 2 glasses of wine and a spliff. Well, that sounds like a perfect. What a beautiful combination. Oh, I mean, that would just make the wine taste so much richer. You're at ease with the world. I'll calm the vibe down a bit for you. Who we got here? Hiss and Bluff Hoggies. Where these people come from? Internet nutters, I'm telling you. Evening, Paul. Glad you made the jump to making your own videos. Come on, you Spurs. Well, I'm a bit wary of the internet, and I did used to do internet stuff years and years and years ago, which at some stage I may talk about. But I kind of did had some, and I'd say very, very minor brushes with fame, and I really didn't like it. Really didn't like that attention. So I just backed out of the whole thing. And it's not necessarily trolls and stuff like that I'm talking about. It's just general attention, I'm quite an introverted person, really. But I've really enjoyed going on channels, mainly the Irish Hotspur, who let me come on their channel and do the build up, and I really had a good time talking Spurs with those guys, and really the reason I thought I'd start my own channel is because, well, I'm enjoying it, and also because I'm at a weird time zone. It doesn't really seem to not clash is the wrong word. Like a lot of the time, I just love watching Spurs channels. I watch Irish Hotspur, We Are TV, We Are Tottenham TV. I'll just devour it all. THFC Till I Die, United Spurs of America, Mile High Hotspur, Savas Football Heritage. Although that gets a bit argy-bargy for me. I like to chill, man. I like to chill. You hear me, I hear you, and we part our way. We're still brothers at the end of it. But it's entertaining sometimes. So I'll give him that. He's cool. He's a cool guy. So there's times during my day here or evening or whatever where there's no Spurs stuff. So I thought, well, you know what? I'll do my own. And seeing as Ange Postecoglou is now the Spurs manager, maybe a few Australians will hop on the Spurs train. I won't call it a bandwagon because that's derogatory. I reckon, whenever you come and join us, welcome aboard. All you've got to do to be a Spurs fan, in my opinion, it's almost like the Shahada, and I'm not making fun of the Shahada because I'm a Muslim myself. So it's like a Spurs Shahada. All you got to do is you got to say, "Come on, you Spurs," and that's it. You're on board. You're on board the Spurs train, the Postecoglou choo-choo. Brilliant. Aaron says, oi, yeah, there we go. Phil P. Hey, look at Phil P. Woo! All right, man, here we go. And Phil says, big up, Paul. And you know what? I'm even feeling more and more comfortable saying big up to people now. Because I don't know. It's weird. Like, when I was on channels, I'd hear them say it, and they'd also big up this. And I'm sitting here thinking, I'm a gentleman in my 50s. I refrain from such language. I will say, "How do you do, sir?" or whatever. But I'm getting quite into the old big up thing. I'm being dragged by my ass into the 2020s. So that's pretty cool. What's this channel? Tottenham's in, Spurs. I'm all in. Better ban the stats, man. Oh my lord. Don't get me. Well, you've already got me started on stats. I'll give you an example. I'll see if I can do this. See if I can give you an example of why stats are preposterous. There's only one stat that counts, and that's how many goals you score. And in the league, it's how many points you've got, and goals for and against. All the rest is just pish. And when I used to go and watch football, you would say something like, someone created a goal. Glenn Hoddle created a goal. Paul Gascoigne, well, he wouldn't create a goal. He just barged through everyone with his arms swinging around and knock it top bins himself. But you wouldn't call it an assist. An assist. And then count how many assists people have got, and at the end of the season make a big winner of the most assists of the year is, I don't know. It's doing your job, isn't it? It's doing your job. I get the golden boot thing because that's goals. So let me see if I can show you why stats in my mind are bollocks. And you know what? I get it. I'm not saying if you like stats, you're an idiot, because it seems to be. I think it's a younger thing, and maybe I guess it's more of a sports nerd thing. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Like when you want to get stuck into a sport and you get stuck into all the stats. For me, I think a sport that stats really suits is cricket, like Test match cricket or baseball. That's where stats I get off on. But football, which is just such a fluid ballet for 90 minutes, stats don't do anything for me. And XG, I've no idea what that is still, and I really don't care, but people go on about it. So, it all came up on its own. I didn't have to do anything. All right, so let me just take that off for a second. So here we go. Here's some stats here. Look at this. You've got shots 17-8, shots on target 3-2, possession 79% to 21%. Passes 732, bloody hell, to 190. Who's this crap? Pass accuracy 88%, 60%. Foul, this team dominated the game, but when you look at the top, it was Aston Villa 1, Stevenage 2. And they also, I wonder if they had that, if they got the, I'm just wondering if they have the, no. They also had during the game, hang on, let's just click that. During the game, they had this kind of like running graph of percentage chance of each team winning it. And Aston Villa was like 98, 99%, 99, blah, 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 blah. And the thing stops at 90 minutes. It doesn't go past 90 minutes. So it finished on Aston Villa like 99.9% chance of winning, and then Stevenage go and do the business in injury time. So, load of old crap. Oh, so you got me on a roll there. Big up and up the Dubs. You're a big City boy, are you? Okay. I'll tell you what. Anytime I meet people from Ireland over here, everyone's from Dublin. Everyone. Getting a cycling in the off season. You know what? Tour de France. I don't mind a bit of Tour de France. That is just a monster event, and it's one of those events. It feels to me a bit like Formula One did in the old day, because like Formula One, when it used to have the likes of James Hunt and Murray Walker commentating, you just have the picture was just the race, and so there would be no leaderboards and times and shit. You were just there watching the game. It was really actually quite much more immersive. And then every 5 or 6 laps, you'd have the running board, and that would be like usually 2 laps out of date. So you didn't really have a clue what was going on the whole race. And to me, Tour de France is a bit like that. You watch it and you think, well, they're miles in front, but they're like 5th or something. I don't know. But it is fun. I'll give you that. Brun South. I'm not a Spurs fan, but excited for Ange at Spurs. Are you an Aussie? Are you? Is Ange someone that's piqued your interest? I'm expecting to see a lot more. Well, you know what? I was expecting to see a few Spurs shirts over here, but then I saw on the old announcement when they did the perfume advert for the new home kit, which is all white, which I don't like. Um, then they tweeted, "Go and buy one now." So I click on it, $115, and there's probably delivery on top of that. And then I looked at shops here. Yeah, it's like $115 in shops. Now, if you compare that to, and I checked this last night, a rugby league jersey, that's about $70, $80. So I don't know where Tottenham get off. I'm sure other clubs charge this amount for their kit, do they? I mean, at the end of the day, it's just a fancy T-shirt, isn't it? You're not actually going to play football in it, are you? Unless you're like in some Spurs tribute team, like, when you get, Neil Diamond tribute acts at Rooty Hill RSL, the Jack Diamond show is like, oh God. So you're never going to play football in it, are you? Unless you're having just a kick around or a bit of a training session. So why does it have to be? $115? That's Australian dollars. It's probably like 80 quid in England, something like that. It's not right. It's not right. They make enough money, man. Come on, Tottenham. Come on, Tottenham. Have you heard of like, uh, you know, uh, pricing stuff? Well, I did this at uni when I did my MBA, which is the same bloody degree that Graham Potter's got. I don't know how he manages football clubs, and I don't. I know bugger all about football. But you drop it by $10, you're going to sell like 5 million more, aren't you? Think of the money. Think of the coin coming in, greedy buggers. Here we go, Phil. Paul, love your vibe. We're all Spurs at the end of the day. Debate is great. Football debate is even better. Peace, brother. You know what? I was having this discussion with a mate of mine when we were driving up the coast the other week. And it's like, for 50 years, I've basically been talking shit. And it's always been about, women, music, football, and sport. And I'm just waiting for the words to run out one day. I'm just waiting for me to wake up one day and just have nothing more to say about it. But, half a century and we're still going. And when you get into a conversation with friends, it's really fun talking about having opinions and that. Well, what I don't want on this channel though is, and each to their own, is I I don't like it when it turns into, point scoring and arguments and stuff like that. I like people having different opinions and maybe just making light of it and having a joke. Because at the end of the day, we're all talking hypothetical crap, aren't we? Really? Will Kane go to Madrid? Will he not? I don't know. I'm just guessing. And you can't get anything from journalists because they just constantly. I they're just constantly making things up, aren't they? And we're really heading into the silly season now, where you know obviously there's nothing happening on the pitch, so they're all fighting with each other for clickbait. The most recent example of absolutely piss poor journalism from those Fleet Street hacks was when Ange Postecoglou. Ange Postecoglou has agreed a 2-year plus 1-year option deal with Spurs. Yeah, ITK ARSE. Aaron Dub, you sell out. Paul, you sell out. I'll never say big up. Yeah, whatever gets the kids in, mate. I'll probably, I don't know what the kids into it. I'll probably have a bit of K-pop or something like that. Maybe that gets some of the Sunny fans in. Bit of K-pop. No, as far as I'm concerned, all music produced after the year 2000 is crap. We just need Kevin Muscat as assistant for the Melbourne Victory double, man. So, for those who are unaware, Ange kind of broke the ceiling to get out of Australia and all the bad views that soccer has of within this country and from the outside world in. He was the first to really do it. And now at Yokohama, another Australian, Kevin Muscat, is coaching. and I think he's won a couple of championships on the bounce there. I haven't been watching it. My problem with Kevin Muscat, and this is where I'm really an Ange follower, not because he's Australian, but because of the man he is. I just don't like Kevin Muscat. I thought he was, I like a bit of physicality in a player, but he would go out and end people's careers, man. I don't mind a bit of bruising, that sort of stuff, but when you're breaking people's legs, man, that's not on. That's not on. Maybe off the pitch when he's behind the white line, maybe he's a totally different guy. I don't know, but I'd assume he's instilling maybe some of that into his players. So I'm not as of yet. I'm not a Kevin Muscat fan, and he played for Millwall for fuck's sake. Come on, have I gone over 10 minutes here? Good. Discussion here. I'll read these things. Yeah, 38% back pass that led to a throw in, and then the forward part. I don't know what you're on about. I don't know. I suppose you're having a discussion with each other there. Man United Football Club. So I take it you do live in Australia because Australia has I mean, there's a lot of Man United fans over here. Most of my mates are Man United fans, actually. I think it's just just the prominence, just the name. And people my age would have grown up with them, tales of Matt Busby or whatever. These are all migrants, of course. Aussies don't care about football so much until now. The main support I'd say in Australia is Man United. There's a lot of Liverpool as well, and then you got a few Johnny come latelys, the Chelseas that just jumped on the Abramovich car with spewing out fossil fuels out the back. I'm Roman Abramovich. Chelsea is a club of no stature, in my opinion. Their natural state as a club is nothing. It's zero. And they just had an owner that wanted to use it for propaganda, and then a few others globbed on their Johnny-come-latelys. And it's going to die in the arse. Their new owner doesn't know anything about football. He's used to franchise protection. Relegation will kick him up the arse. Whereas I think Tottenham are the opposite. I think our natural state as a club is very, very big. It's just that our owners have been keeping us down time after time. Mr. Oh, they're having a chat with each other. That's pretty cool. Norwegian. I don't know any Norway. I don't know any Norway. It's not even a language, is it? But welcome. Yeah, and you do have Haaland. Yeah, there is a Spurs supporters group in Australia. I think they're called Ozspur, which I haven't had much luck naming myself because I think the first few times I went on the Irish Hotspur, I just called myself Paul Ozspur. It just seemed to be a stupid name, and then I find out just a few months ago that's what the official Tottenham fan club over here is called. So I can't use it, otherwise they'll probably give me a cease and desist and all that sort of stuff. But I know if you're in the Sydney area, they tend to meet for games in the Strawberry Hills Hotel in Surrey Hills. I've never been, no. I don't know. I might venture out this season. I don't know. It's I don't mind getting up at weird hours watching it in the comfort of my home, but to go out, it's a bit of a schlep. Might be fun, good atmosphere though. Maybe someday, we will see. All right, so your reason was becoming a United fan was for Norwegian players. You know what? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the dafter the reason for following a football club, the better. I said in a stream or a video yesterday or whenever it was, the reason I became a Spurs fan in the first place was I was a little tiny kid. I don't know quite how old I was, and I had one of those plastic crappy footballs you get from the petrol station, and it had loads of football clubs written all over it. It was a real knockoff. It wasn't official football league merchandise, this or anything. And I thought, right, I want to follow a club. I chucked it up. I landed down my finger, and what did it say? It said West Ham United. And I thought, I really don't. I don't ham. I mean, I'm not Jewish or anything like that, but West Ham just sounds a bit weird to me. I didn't like the name. So I tossed it up again, and there it was. Even though it still has ham in it, it's different pronounced syllabic. So Tottenham Hotspur. I mean, without knowing anything about the club, isn't that a name that just rolls off the tongue? It just it just uh, it just implies a bit of razzle dazzle, a bit of magnificence about it. Tot Spurs, big up, Paul. Big up, Tot Spurs. Dragging these nuts. My son is a Liverpool fan. Not fun. Yeah, it must be pretty hard, I suppose, when there's a family divide over 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 football teams, what you support. Especially when one team like Liverpool has been so much more successful than Tottenham. God, I need my nicotine supplement. I'm going to faint, man. Tell you what, you know how much cigarettes are like $50 a packet in Australia now? Bloody hell, man! I'm glad I don't smoke anymore. Yeah, it's but when a team when a team's doing well and you're not, and Liverpool have done it with a bit of style as well. They haven't won leagues the Mourinho way. They do have a bit of flair for them. They are they are a bit they're a bit boring though. They're a bit boring. I mean, I'm no master tactician. Tactics and stats aren't my thing. So if you ever see me on a stream, whether it's here or somewhere else, and someone's got one of those football pitches, this happened the other night on Sean's Spurs talk show stream, where we were talking about stats and how Spurs would fit into Ange's system. And like I'm looking at it, and they're moving these little circles around. I'm just glazing over it. So if you see me in one of those streams, everything I'm saying is total bullshit. I'm just absolutely winging it 100%. I have no idea what I'm talking about because what I care about when I'm watching football is the feeling it gives me. It's an emotional game for me. I can wax lyrical for a while on that. So to give you an example, when I watched Ange Postecoglou's Celtic team, I know there's four at the back. I can tell you that much, and I know because I've heard it's generally it looks like a 4-3-3, but sometimes it's a 4-1-2-1 or something. I don't know. It's four at the back. But when I watch the team, it looks like fairly free flowing chaos to me. The players are moving in and out of position. They're always trying to get the ball back. They're always trying to, create space very wisely. That they catch other teams out so much. It's kind of like a total football to me, where you know it's just. I suppose they have their default positions, but when they get cranking, when they're in full flight, they're just weaving around, and that's the kind of football that really excites me. And I see that, I used to see that in Tottenham when I was a kid, and I mean there wasn't much football on in the TV or on the TV, so I'm guessing I would have started supporting Spurs probably in '78, but I wouldn't have seen much of them really. My earliest football memory is the 1978 FA Cup where Arsenal lost to Ipswich, which was hilarious to me. Hilarious because even at that young age, 78, I would have been, it's before my birthday, so I would have been 5. Even at that young age, my friends all supported Arsenal for some bloody reason. I was the only Spurs fan. And then shortly after that, I remember the Argentina World Cup, which was just like, I mean, I'd never seen so much football. It was, and it's not like I was really a football mad kid. I wasn't one of the kids that really played much. I started playing much later. So when I started playing, everyone else had been playing for 5 years, so I was absolute crap. Um, but the '78 Argentina World Cup is something that I can still see it now. The ticker tape in the final, and two of the names that really stood out during that tournament were Mario Kempes and Osvaldo Ardiles. So when there was headlines shortly after that we signed Ozzy Ardiles and Ricky Villa, I can't really remember him too much from the World Cup, but Ozzy Ardiles was like, he was like one of their main players, and like, what, he's coming to Tottenham? What? And I knew we'd just gotten out of Division 2 as well. So this was like mind-blowing stuff. And the odd time you'd really see Spurs back in the day would be more FA Cup games. So you did get to see a few, but it was kind of 80 onwards. And then 81 was when all the pieces just fit together. And it was just, that's what I liked seeing. It was like chaos in the pitch. And if me watching it have got no idea what the players are going to do, then the other bloody team have got no idea what we're going to do either. When I see a team like Liverpool, I don't really know what they're, like I say, it's just the feeling I have. They're much more structured. It doesn't seem to be as free flowing. Not that isn't, I mean, that's the great thing about football to me. There's so many different ways to skin a cat, and depending on like what your bent is, or what you like, or what club you follow, you can enjoy all sorts of different styles. At the end of the day, it's the team that wins the game, isn't it? So there's no right and wrong to it. But I just like seeing players running all over the fucking place, and doing just crazy passes and flicks like that. Liverpool seem to be very structured the way they all march up the pitch. I mean, this is just impressions I've got. Liverpool fans may have a completely different opinion of it, and they would have seen them a lot more than me. I only seen them really when they're playing Tottenham. Tottenham's the only team I really watch. All right, let's have a look at more comments here. I'm enjoying this. This is cool. I was on a live show with you ages back. I should actually, I should be reading this properly because some people aren't actually watching the video. So let's get me act together. Aaron says, I was on a live show with you ages back, one of your first, I think. Maybe on Wheels before I quit YouTubing, called you Aussie Gandalf. No offence. I should have called you Tyrant Sauron. No, man. I tell you what, it's pretty hard to offend me. It really is. I don't mind. Gandalf or whatever you want to call me. You shall not pass. In fact, I don't know if I've got it knocking around here. My daughter, she was a bit of a Lord of the Rings fan, and on her door she had it was like a road warning sign, but it was like a picture of Gandalf with a prohibited line through, and it said "You shall not pass." So that's pretty cool, man. Brun says the first World Cup I remember was Korea 2002. Got to watch R9 through the tournament. What a player! Yeah, yeah. I mean, World Cups are something special. They really failed to deliver for me. And 2000 was a great one in South Korea. The funny thing about that one I found was that because I think it Japan and Turkey both got to the semi-finals. There was quite a few upsets in that tournament. That I even though I like to see underdogs do well, like at the last World Cup, seeing Morocco go that far was amazing. But for me, I kind of a World Cup has something missing if you don't have one of these teams in it. England, Germany, Italy. I mean, I hate Italy, but they've got to be there, haven't they? Italy, Brazil, Argentina. There might be another team in there that I've missed, but if one of those teams don't qualify, I think there's something a little bit missing from it. Even though England have really not contributed too much to it, but it was a great World Cup. That was the one where I was. Rivaldo took a brutal ball in the face by the corner flag. Excellent stuff. Aaron says, Aussie's dream, Chaz and Dave. I was only 6, but man, I played that 7-inch vinyl a million times, man. Yes. FA Cup was, man. It was. I think it's hard to get across to maybe people under the age of, I don't know, maybe even 20, 30. I don't know how huge a deal the FA Cup was. It was incredible. Like the FA Cup songs, the build up, even the road, the semi-final we had against Wolves, the replay at Highbury was amazing. But the occasion, like that 1981 final, it was the centenary of the FA Cup, so it was the 100th anniversary. And all bloody morning, you'd get up at 9 o'clock, and Grandstand would be on the TV, just whetting your appetite because there was bugger all live football on. There was maybe one league game a week on. There was match a day in the evenings, but this was an event, man. This was an event. It'd be with the teams on the bus, and you'd just be devouring every moment. Me as like an 8-year-old watching my team just get there, and you're kind of shitting yourself. I mean, I felt the despair in '87 when we lost, but it was even in '87, it still had that massive, massive build-up. And it was a game that the whole country, in fact, the whole world watched. Because since moving to Australia, I know football fans over here, the FA Cup was a huge deal, man, a huge deal, because it was really the only live English game you got. It was an incredible event. So that's why I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that one of the reasons that Ange chased us down for this job, remember? His agent was on it from the get-go. He wanted it. He turned, if you believe reports, he turned down clubs like Brighton and Leeds and maybe Crystal Palace. I think Brighton seems to be quite high up there in the consensus of opinion that Ange turned Brighton down. The club that we're all moaning about is better than us. Ange knows, man. He knows. He knows the potential of Tottenham far, far, far exceeds Brighton if we get things right. And we haven't been getting things right. Levy is one thing, but crying out loud, the last couple of managers we've had have been absolutely woeful for the club. I mean, I backed them at the time, but they were so wrong for the club. And I know the board appointed them, but I think they really did do a lot of damage. And I think Ange has got his work cut out, because this is a team now that's been drilled in playing defensive, counter-attacking, boring horseshoe football, and he's got to bash that out of their heads and get them to play with a bit of flair and fire again. So he's got a job ahead of him, but I really reckon he can do it. As to vinyls, my prized possession, even though it's before I was born, is the 1967 FA Cup final Spurs song, and it's got the likes of like Terry Venables is Mr. Charisma on it, and you can tell when he's singing he fancies himself. I think he sings Bye Bye Blackbird in it, and he's like full of bye bye Blackbird, whereas all the others are just having a bit of laugh. But that's one of my prized possessions. Okay, let's move on here. Tot Spurs. I really miss watching the players we have had over the years with flair and skill. Ozzy Hoddle, Ginola, Gaza, Anderton, Modric, Bale. I know, man. I know. You know what I'm hoping? Hang on, that one's run out. What I'm hoping really is that maybe we have a flair player in our ranks, but we just don't realise it yet because we've been playing, shit football for 4 years. I don't know how true that is, but that's what I would hope. But you're right. I mean, those players were such a treat to watch. Especially when I've got to move this camera down a bit because I'm sort of sinking. Oh, there we go. Maybe the springs on my couch are gone. Those were the players. Like for me, my time going to live matches at White Hart Lane was about 85 to 1990, I suppose. That's when I had season ticket there. So for me, out of those players, Ozzy and Hoddle were just amazing. And then they left, and we had Chrissy Waddle was fantastic, and Gaza was a breath of fresh air. Anderton was a player, and you know what? Anderton had a real bad deal from Tottenham. And I really hate the way he's got this nickname Sick Note. If you've ever heard him talk about his injuries, he was really mucked around by Tottenham. He'd have an injury, and Alan Sugar would basically, knowing he's a footballer that always wanted to play, would kind of tempt him into being on the subs bench and playing even when he's injured and he hadn't fully recovered. the Spurs medical team would also, misdiagnose him. It was only before the 96 Euros where he was chatting to Terry Venables, then England manager, about his injury status, that Venables got onto another physio, and within 2 weeks they'd sorted it all out. So for me, Darren Anderton is the exact opposite of a sick note. He never he never tried to get out of anything. A lot of his injuries were caused by Tottenham, unfortunately, and he was such an exciting player because he filled that Chrissy Waddle gap for me, because Chrissy Waddle I loved, and then he left, and then a little bit later Anderton came in, and he looked a bit like Chrissy, and he played a little bit like Chrissy, but he had other tricks up his sleeve as well. He's his own man. So yeah, really enjoyed Anderton. Modric, we got a deal there. Bale, but like I say, I'm just hoping that there is a player that we just don't know they're good. They might be. Hang on. I've got to just find my nicotine supplement device, because I am a sad nicotine addict. So what I'll do is I'll just leave you with some stats there. All right, hang on. Here we go. There we go. 82. Now, 82. The 82 replay FA Cup final. It seems to have a reputation, and even players. I've heard. I think Steve Perriman said this. I might be wrong on that, but I've heard even players say that it wasn't a great game of football. And I watched it. I watched it a couple of months ago, because whenever this is the good thing about YouTube for me is I've been so bloody miserable watching Tottenham this year, absolutely miserable. And after a really crappy performance, I have to pep myself up a bit, because I've got, if you took the top of my head off, it would just be a box of quacking ducks. So a bit of buggered brain syndrome. So I've got to pep myself up again. And YouTube's great for watching old games, and it had been years since I'd watched the '82 replay, and I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was a cracking game of football, and we won. Oh yeah, Aaron says, isn't that Dyer's motto? You shall not pass. The bollocks can't, and he's been trying 10 years, man. If that's one guy, barring. See, even if Ange gets him going, I just don't trust the guy, because he's done this time and time again. I know this is something Dave, the Irish Hotspur, says a lot, and I think he's bang on. Is we get the new manager in, and then Dyer suddenly plays a bit, and then you get 6 decent games out of him, and then he just turns to crap again. And he did it under Mourinho, he did it under Conte, and I just fear that he'll do it again under Ange. But you know what? I think Ange has got a bit more laser focus. I think Ange can see into the heart of people a bit better. He's very big on, 50-50. You've got to have technical skill, but you've got to have a good character, because the character is the bit that makes you work hard. And Eric Dyer just doesn't look like a player that works hard, He seemed to fool Mourinho a bit. He ran around in training and, it's a bit of controversy. What's this? South Korea got a free pass from refs. It was total corruption. Even the way Korea got to co-host it was corrupt. Japan was supposed to be the sole host. Well, I don't know. I don't know. I can't remember being shocked or anything at refereeing decisions. But I mean, if you're talking about FIFA, it's like every governing body everywhere in the world, pretty much for every sport, it's full of these stuffed shirts, smoking cigars, sitting on fat leather couches. None of them have ever played the game. They're all just coining it in for themselves. I mean, FIFA have got to be one of the worst. And you can see UEFA are just as bad. revamping the Champions League. I mean, what they've done in Europe makes my heart bleed. Um, the way they revamped all the competitions and coefficients, and they're increasing the number of fixtures for Champions League games this coming year. And it's all about the revenue, getting the money in. It really has got nothing to do with the football. And they're doing it at the expense of national leagues. And this is something I probably will. This won't be the last time I bang on about it. But I thought European competition was great the way it was, and the Champions League has really demeaned the whole thing actually. So you used to have the European Cup. So that was only one team from each country, and all of these competitions were straight knockout, home and away, do or die. The European Cup was just the champions of each club. This is why the thing was so bloody hard to win, which is why I think it demeans a club like Real Madrid, who've won it so many times, that a team could come along now and win it as many times, but the entry ticket is so much easier to get into. I mean, you're looking at the Premier League, having top five, a quarter of the top division qualifies for European champions. It's more like a World Cup qualifying bloody thing. So you had that. Then you had like second, third, and maybe fourth place would go into the UEFA Cup. And for me, as a Spurs fan back in the day, that was a good one because the place in the league for me is kind of irrelevant unless you finish first. I don't really care where you finish. But for me, if you finish in that bracket and it's the result of having a genuine go at winning the title, and maybe at some stage, which is what happened to Spurs in I think like 82, 85, 87, towards the latter stages of the season, run out of steam, or other the teams like the Liverpools and Evertons were just that much stronger come the crunch time. But when you've been in a valid title challenge and you just fall a bit short, then I think that's how you get the place in Europe. I don't like the way it is at the moment, where you can be sixth, fifth most of the season, and maybe you get a bit lucky and you just limp over the finishing line on goal difference and finish in the top four. That's bullshit, man. Absolutely bullshit. And then the other cup, which I think they should bring back, and I'll tell you why, was the European Cup Winners' Cup. So that was the winner of each country's domestic cup. Like in England, it would be the FA Cup. So you used to get they used to throw up weird fixtures, because sometimes in countries a smaller club would win the domestic cup. Even in England, you had Wimbledon winning the FA Cup. They would go into the Cup Winners' Cup, So it was a real interesting competition. And it was regarded as by UEFA as the second tier, not the UEFA Cup. It was the Cup Winners' Cup. So you had European Cup, Cup Winners' Cup, UEFA Cup, because the European Cup and Cup Winners' winners went on to play the Super Cup. Now, the reason why they got rid of the Cup Winners' Cup was because they expanded the Champions League so bloody much, was that a lot of teams that would win the FA Cup would now qualify for the European Cup. It used to be I hope this isn't too confusing, I might be babbling. If you finished in a second or third spot in your league and qualified for the UEFA Cup, but you also won the FA Cup, you'd go into the Cup Winners' Cup, because that was the better competition, right? So what would happen is more and more bloody teams just qualified for the European Cup. UEFA actually canned the Cup Winners' Cup, because it would drop down to finalists and semi-finalists, and they thought, well, it's all these crappy teams from Europe taking part, so we'll just get rid of the whole bloody thing. And what I find weird is now they've brought in this Europa Conference League, which kind of has those teams in it. So I reckon get rid of the Europa Conference League and bring back the Cup Winners' Cup. The only problem is, of course, is that there's not enough FA domestic cup winners to make it a round robin mini league tournament. Loads of Wonga coming in, Michel Platini, ho, coining it in. So, but the Cup Winners' Cup, and don't forget that Tottenham were the first British team to win a European trophy in 1963. We were a team of firsts. It was a great World Cup. I love all the World Cups. I love the last World Cup. You know, when people stop banging on about all the politics, and it's like, yeah, I get it, Qatar, murky record, but the problem is the World Cup has to be held somewhere in the world, right? You can't hold it on the moon, and no matter what country you hold it in, every country has got, either a dark present or dark history. Every country in the world's done the wrong thing or is doing the wrong thing at the moment. And, when you start pointing the finger and saying you're worse than this, I get it. They're on the nose, but this is a sporting tournament, and I get it. It was all corrupt them being awarded, but every country that gets the World Cup is always corruption. When the whistle goes, the football was fantastic, and it brings people together because I watched every game of the World Cup. I always do. I just love it. I love the atmosphere of it. You get to see people from all over the world, and when they're cheering their team on, you just realise we're all the same, aren't we? It doesn't matter if they're from South Korea or Iran or United States or Morocco or Wales or whatever. That 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 feeling you get when your team's winning and doing well, or doing you proud, you realise we're all the bloody same, aren't we? So that's why get the politics out of sport. There's a lot of there was a lot of sneering from Australia and England about Qatar, and I could go on about human rights in this country, man. It ain't pretty, but this is a football stream, and I ain't going to get onto it. But it is disgusting. No country's perfect, is what I'm saying. Dragon D's nuts. I see. This, this is going to be a bit like ringing up Mo in the bar, isn't it? Is Dragon D's nuts in the house? First game I saw live on TV was the '91 FA Cup final, man. Well, what a way to pop your cherry. Brilliant, man. Now the thing I remember about the mood at the time of the FA of the '91 final was, I mean, we beat Arsenal in the semi-final, which I didn't think we'd do because Arsenal were way better than us at that time. They kind of, and I think they'd already won the league. But I remember the atmosphere was that if you weren't a Spurs fan, everyone in England wanted Nottingham Forest to win. Everyone, because it was probably like Brian Clough's last chance to win the FA Cup. The FA Cup was the only cup he hadn't won. He'd won the European Cup, couple of leagues. He'd won the League Cup a few times, but he'd never won the FA Cup. So the whole country was kind of cheering Brian Clough on, which I get because the guy was one of the best football people going, the best manager that England never had. So we were kind of backs against the wall a bit, and when Gazza put that tackle in, it's like, oh no, man, that wasn't good. I mean, he's a nutcase. He's an absolute nutcase. You can't help but love Paul Gascoigne. He is, there's a few people in this world that are just absolute bonker geniuses at what they do. If whether they're footballers or musicians or whatever, and sometimes that also has a cost. It also has a cost in the world, and some people just, you know, my opinion of Gaza is he's just out there and just finds it so bloody hard to cope with the bloody world sometimes. As I said, I've got a box of ducks in my head, just quacking away. I'm sure there's people out there, that have got, issues. There's a lot of us out there, and Gascoigne was at the extreme edge of that. He was such a genius, such a talent that, you know, so I just, wish all the best for the guy. He seems to be getting on all right now, but he was brilliant, Paul Gascoigne. I love watching him playing. Aaron says, I'm pumping fist, Paul. The FA Cup will bring that back. You know what, man? Oh, wouldn't that wouldn't that be a fairy tale first season for Ange? Despite I think we're going to do. I don't think I'm not banking on us doing very well in the league because Ange has got a lot of work to do. Either if he has to transform our dog shit defensive team into an attacking flair champagne football razzle dazzle merchants. Uh, it's going to take time, it's going to take time. So the league, I don't really care about. And the cups, whether we'll be good enough to win a cup this season or not. But I'd like to think we'll get through a couple of rounds. they're those special do or die one-off occasions where weird magic can happen. So it'd be nice to see. Loved a bit of saying Greasy back in the day, says Hiss and Bluff Hoggies. Man, oh man, that wasn't that a fantastic show? And you know that's kind of what I grew up with, watching Saint and Greasy on the TV. So that when I think of Jimmy Greaves, sadly, that is the Jimmy Greaves I imagine, the bald guy with the mo, putting on a few pounds. And it's sometimes quite hard for me to imagine that he's one of the greatest footballers that England ever produced. And I think that's partly because of his character as well. He was always so humble and self-effacing. He was he's quite a character. And now, I love that. I love saying Greasy. It was just a funny look at football. Football gets a bit too, the presentation these days, and it's the same on Optus Sport here. Every match is critical. They're not just matches. Every match is a clash. Da, 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 da. 17th place West Bromwich Albion clashes with 19th place Leeds United. Who will triumph? Who gives a fuck? Everything's so bloody serious. If you have a chance, do a YouTube search for Mitchell and Webb football. That should bring it up. And they do a brilliant skit on introducing football. And that, to me, sums up the way football has become. Beta, salam alaikum wa rahmatullah. Brother, how you going, man? Nice to have you in. That's a 20-point greeting. Got to keep it sweet with the guy upstairs. Aaron says Terry Venables was the OG. Hoddle and Waddle Diamond Lights. Gaza, Fog on the... Far out, man. I forgot all about Fog on the Time with Lindisfarne, man. Terry Venables, before Ange, he was probably the manager that I got the most excited about coming into the club, because we'd been through the David Pleat. That didn't end well. We fuffed around a bit. And there he was, Terry Venables, manager of Barcelona, El Tel, just waiting to be brought back to England. Former Spurs player. He was the perfect man for the job. That style of football. And I was. Terry Venables was a great coach, man. He was a great England coach, and he was a really good coach for Australia. Just fell short of qualifying for the '98 World Cup. I was really excited about him, man. He was great, but and it all went wrong with Alan Sugar, didn't it? Alan Sugar was such a destructive force in our club. Alan Sugar is such an arsehole. Then you see him tweet with his furry walnut head now and then when, I think it was when Conte had his burst about players, and then Alan Sugar says, yeah, fucking hell, right, yeah, even when I owned the club, managers would say they always wanted fucking players. It's like, I detest that man. I detest that man for everything he stands for. He's a scumbag. His Amstrad hi-fis were shit. He used to call it a mug's eyeful. He knew it was all cheap shit. He was just ripping people off. And that man has the audacity to say that Spurs was a waste of his time, that he didn't make any profit out of it. Spurs, you can't run football like a business. No, you can't. So why don't all you businessmen just do one and fuck off out of the game? Because if all the money went out of the game, it'd just be perfectly fine. Football wouldn't die in the arse. It would carry on going and be better for it. But he had the audacity, as if to say Tottenham was a waste of his time. Well, Sugar, and I ain't calling you Lord Sugar or Sir Alan. You're bloody Alan Sugar, and you're a knobhead, mate. You were a football league chairman. You used your position to get the Premier League over the line and get the rights to cable TV, knowing that Amstrad, your bloody company, was making the cable boxes. You made a personal fortune, just like Irving Scholar tried to do, exploit the name of Tottenham to feather his own nest. You did it big style, champ. So don't whinge about Tottenham. I'm sick of the sight of you. You're fired. And then we got, no, don't get me on it, Daniel Levy. That's another story. But bloody Alan Sugar, he totally fucked our club up, man. Totally. If you hear what Steve Perryman has to say about him, Jesus Christ, some of the stories, disgusting, man. Lucas says, up until the Premier League came into being, he's not going to talk in favour of the Premier League now, are you, man? That'll shoot me down in flames, wouldn't it? Up until the Premier League came into being, Lucas says, the FA Cup final was massive. To give you an idea, I was in retail, okay, and the Saturday on Cup final day was one of the quietest training Saturdays of the year. It was amazing. It was the country stopped. And you know what I tried to do this year for the cup was, you know, even though maybe the general public don't like the FA Cup anymore, I'm gonna have some of that magic myself. And I thought Spurs had a really good chance, and then we just shat the bed against Sheffield United, and you know I lost interest in the FA Cup after that. So it needs Spurs in there to be. Aaron says the FA Cup needs us as we need it. Historic team with us lifting the cup again might get some slags. Is he saying slags there or slogs? Some slags. Get some slags or some clubs, but F to it. To us who respect the FA Cup, it'll be tears flowing of joy. Couldn't agree with you more, man. You know, and that's one of the disappointing things about. Can you believe it's been 32 years? It'll be 33 years, even if we win it next year. That was our cup when we won it in '91. We were the record holders. We'd won it 8 times, and it was our cup. Yeah. Yeah, only 1782. I only remember the family party. Well, isn't that funny, eh? A family had a party. Fourth glass of wine and a spliff, getting wonky. Whoa, that's hard. That's big going, man. I find if I indulge in that, I can't really drink much. I just, doesn't happen. Sorry, Paul and chat. Nah, man, let it all out, brother. No, you're all right. I love these FA Cup memories. I like going on tangents about stuff like that. Dragon D's nuts says, Ange has a working BS detector. He bloody well does, man. He bloody well does. He can pierce the heart of a man. He can tell when someone's bullshitting. Tot Spurs breaks my heart watching the Steve Perryman podcast. What a fantastic podcast that is. So upsetting seeing such a legend of our club feel how he does right now. I really hope Ange can help us all rebuild some faith. Yeah, you know what, man? That last podcast he did, because he'd been quiet for a little bit, and you could just see he was gutted. For him, I mean, I've seen him, mainly bag Alan Sugar in the way the club was, but I think he's a very clever guy, Steve. He's very clever in what he says. He's very not guarded, but he just says the right things, I think. And you could see that he was really done with the club this season. And I mean, isn't that a shame? He's 17 years service, and horrible. But it was a great podcast to listen to. Go and go YouTube, search on YouTube, Steve Perriman podcast. I mean, it's a real. I love listening to old players. Whether they're left the club 2 years ago or 50 years ago. I love all that sort of shit. It just, that to me, we're a historical club, aren't we? What are we? 141 years of history? That's 141 years of unbroken line. All these hands holding together, all these players, all these stories passed down from parents to kids, from grandparents to kids, from uncles and aunts. And, it's one of the things I find disappointing about the club these days is that they're almost embarrassed of being a football club, or they're especially embarrassed of our past. When I see that stadium, that beautiful stadium people keep talking about, I just think, couldn't you put a lick of blue paint on the bloody thing? At least make the cockerel blue instead of vanishing grey or beige or whatever the bloody hell it is. Yeah, Luca. Yeah, I think Steve is hurting, man. And after everything he's done for the club, I'm a fan. We're fans. We hurt from time to time, but when you see a guy like that hurting, it really, you know what, it it hits home, doesn't it? UEFA Cup circa, Aaron says UEFA Cup circa '82 was arguably the harder cup to win. Yeah, man. Yeah, harder than the Champions League is now, because it was do or die, and also the Champions League, the UEFA Cup, odds on, and I think we had a run like this. I don't know if it was '83 or '84. I can't remember what year it was, but pretty much every team we played in the UEFA Cup was that year's current champions. So that was the thing about that was the you've just sparked a tangent on why Champions League. Another reason Champions League is knackered football, because in each country the league was so important, and for those top three teams, they were all fighting for the title, not resting until it was like mathematically impossible. So if you were in the UEFA Cup, chances are you were going to play someone that ended up being a champion that year. Whereas now that that onus, that big prize of the league isn't as much, is it? Because you can finish in the top 4 or 5. So there's not as much, I don't know, fight or passion. You end up. I mean, you end up in the Champions League, and you might have an easy as pie draw. You could be playing fourth or fifth place teams, even from England, like Aston Villa. Is it? I don't know who's in anymore. I've lost count who's in the Champions League. I don't care, man. Whoever it is. But you're going to be playing these teams that their highest of highs is going to be that place in the table. Whereas, when Tottenham were fighting for these leagues, we were, we didn't really finish more higher than third, but it was a bloody good third. It was a feisty third. Oh, Aaron, you know what? Aaron's saying the European League is here, isn't going away. It's coming, and we just have to suck it up. Look, I I am a realist, but believe it or not, that I know that's the way things are going, and we're not going to change it and all that. But I guess what I'm hoping is, how do I put this? When you get old farts talking the way I do about football, um, then at least it carries some sort of flame into the future. So even though I'm personally not as excited about the European Super League, the way it is at the moment, not the one that I think you're mentioning. I might get onto that in a second, actually. Then it's part of the whole fabric of being a football supporter. So even though I might be passionate for days gone past, it's still passion, and it flows on to other people, and then they carry it forward. So even though the football landscape has changed, I think there's plenty of room for people to be passionate about it. Younger people, they'll have grown up. This is the way it is for them, so they'll enjoy it the way it is. As for the European Super League itself, that was my worst time as a Spurs supporter, when that European Super League, the closed off one, reared its ugly head a couple of years ago. Because for me, that was more than anything else. You can have Levy fucking about with all this, or Alan Sugar, but that for 48 hours, it really genuinely felt I've got no football club. I can't. I've got nothing to support, because the team that I chose to support is now not going to be in the Football League. It's not going to be in the FA Cup. It's not going to be in the League Cup. It's only going to be in this closed off franchise football. That for me is not enough. I would not have supported Spurs. I wouldn't have supported any other team. But, that probably would have killed a lot of my love of the game off. I would have probably, I'd still like the World Cup, and my local team here, Gladesville and Ride Magic FC, 3rd Division, New South Wales. But as far as Tottenham goes, if they went into a league like that, they would actually be absolutely dead to me, unfortunately. Um, you know, That's the way it is. I know we're supposed to be fans for life, but when the club removes itself from every competition, that's not my club anymore, man. That's not my club. It's too far distant from what it was. Oh, hell, Kaz, Aaron's on a roll. Nate, do you watch darts? You know what I used to, man? When it was the likes, when it was like Eric Bristow, who I hated, Jockey Wilson, I loved, John Lowe, uh, Cliff Lazarenko. Oh my God, who are these names, man? And it was all beer and smokes, and it was at the Lakeside Tavern. And it was Sid Waddell, and he used to come out of. I remember one thing he said he was, if Jockey Wilson walked into town, Clint Eastwood would walk out other side. He used to come out with such great sayings. I think we were like kind of so starved for bloody sport on TV that everything was exciting. Darts, I used to love darts, man, and bullseye. And from what I've seen now, darts has gone a bit wanky, a bit wanky. It's kind of gone a bit big time Charlie for me. I'm not interested in it anymore, really not. The same with snooker. I used to love watching snooker, Terry Griffiths, Ray Reardon. I fucking love that guy, Ray Reardon. He was my favourite. Steve Davis, Dennis Taylor, Bill Werbenick having to have a piss every 5 minutes because he used to have to drink 10 pints of beer because he was on beta blockers. So he's on beta blockers. The side effect of that was giving you the shakes. So to counteract the shakes, he just used to get smashed. And I used to like those earthy times in sports. And the kids loved it. I'm all for kids watching grown men getting pissed and smoking on TV. And you know what? At football games, it was kind of like that. There were kids in the crowd. I don't think they grew up. Well, I was one of them, I suppose. We didn't grow up to be violent knob ends all the time. I think when you mixed with raw humanity, it actually made you a better person, really. When you saw the the agony and the ecstasy close up front, I think that was real character forming as a child. I said in a stream yesterday. Now it's all sit there politely. Oh, don't swear in front of children. Children don't give a flying fuck if you swear. It's just posh people. Posh people care if you swear, like they don't fart. Yeah, Dragon D's Nuts Australia. Venables was Australian manager, and unfortunately we just fell short. We were 2-0 up against, was it Iraq or Iran at half time? If we won the game, we were in the World Cup. You'll notice I say we when I refer to the Australian soccer team. Um, they're a team that's really close to my heart because I think a lot of those players, they're not big time Charlies. A lot of them come from migrant backgrounds. So for the reasons I love Ange Postecoglou fighting through all that, I like the Australian soccer player's story to the extent that if it was this will get juices flowing. Depends on which sport. If it was Australia versus England in football, I'd be going for Australia. I just like them. I like them, and I think at the moment we've got a good manager, Graham Arnold. I like the guy. England always bloody disappointed. Look, don't get me wrong. If England will win the World Cup, I'll still count that. But I'm just talking about head to head here. Um, England always disappoint me, especially recently with Gareth's safety gate and his risk averse tactics. It just does my head in. But when it comes to cricket, when it comes to the Ashes, England versus Australia, England smash Australia this summer. I can't stand the Australians, the cricket team, mainly because they used to win every time. When I was a kid, I hated them. I hate them now. They're just a bunch of entitled, cheating lowlifes. And I, for one, applaud everyone that in the Barmy Army. I think, oh no, bloody David Warner's not playing, but the Sonny Bill masks. I think that was hilarious. Venables just slipped Beatty a brown envelope. Well, he might have done. I think he was wasn't he cleared of all his service station brown paper bags. Dragon D's nuts. We had an Amstrad computer piece of shit. Yeah, exactly, man. Everything Amstrad was a con job. A con job. And the phrase Alan Sugar actually used was it a mug's eyeful. So we used to get those catalogues with all the hi-fis in it. He would just put cheap plastic knobs and lights all over the thing that didn't do anything. So if you didn't know any better, which is fair, a lot of consumers don't go and research all these things. Music's something that's very important to me. I've got like 4-foot speakers here and 2-foot speakers here, and I like pumping out the jams, man. But if you're just Joe Blow punter back in the day and you want something to, play nice music on, and you see this flashy looking thing, you're going to buy it. He's a con man, absolute con man. I had a Commodore 64. Sorry, man. It was kind of cool having a Commodore 64. Brilliant games on those things, though. Brilliant games. Aaron says, when Sean Butler grows up, he'll be Alan Sugar. That's a joke. I love Shawnee too. I think anyone that's passionate about Tottenham, I kind of like, really. And I really, really enjoy, when this year watching Tottenham was so bad, like I say, basket head full of ducks. I've had major depression through my life and major anxiety disorder. I'm not saying this for any sympathy or any shit like that. I'm just, there's other people out there. I just want to make people feel normal about it, really. So watching Spurs on my own in the middle of the night, getting thumped and playing shit is enough to, make me feel a bit funky, But the counterbalance to that has been watching, the Irish Hotspur watch-alongs. I know lots of other channels doing it. And just, it's kind of sharing the experience of being so shit and downtrodden, and just seeing Sean smash up his furniture and stuff like that. It makes me feel better, It's enough to get me over the line. He's a nutcase. What was Aaron? Aaron seems to think I'm going to wind it up soon. I think because my voice is getting a bit croaky. I don't know how people do this for hours. What's old Phil P going on about here? When Alexander of Macedon was 33, he cried salt tears because there were no more worlds to conquer. Dude. Oh no, man, is this another Sid Waddell? Oh, dude. When Alexander of Macedon was 33, he cried salt tears because there were no more worlds to conquer. Eric Bristow is only 27. Isn't that? Oh, dude. And he's talking about a fat guy throwing darts. Oh, I'm sure there must be pages or YouTube clips of Sid Waddell, but dude, you can almost see the cigarette smoke coming out of the TV. Fantastic it was. That is a fact. Oh, he had such a beautiful turn of phrase. Sid Waddell. There were great commentators in all sports, weren't there? Murray Walker, I used to love. Murray Walker. F1 would be like the other main sport I love. I still love it at the moment. Murray Walker, Eddie Waring in rugby league, John Motson, man. John Motson, for me, he was number one. Was it a fantastic tackle there by Graham Roberts? It's Galvin. Spurs have 2 to his right, but Galvin wants to go alone. Villiers, and still Ricky Villiers. Fantastic run. What an amazing goal. And that the thing I like about that bit of John Motson commentary, it's about half an hour after Jimmy Knobhead Hill, who was always wrong about everything, said about Steve McKenzie's goal. I think that's one of the finest goals that's ever been seen at Wembley, and people will talk about it for years to come. No, they won't, because Ricky Villiers just got a better one. Just done him. Aaron asks, who's Aussie's greatest? Harry Kewell, Mark Viduka, or Archie Thompson? That's an interesting question, man. I mean, Archie Thompson holds the goal scoring record when we used to have to qualify through Oceania. So you might, poo-poo the opposition, but he's still, you can only play who you're playing. Harry Kewell was a bloody good player, though. I'll probably have to go to someone like maybe Craig Johnson or Johnston, who played for Liverpool back in the day, because he was kind of one of the first Aussies that broke out. So I'd kind of have to go for him. But, Harry Kewell, Mark Viduka, Tim Cahill. Australia has produced some great players, There's even players at the moment that are under the radar. I know Leicester got relegated, but Suter I thought had a really good World Cup. Can't think of too many other Australian national players at the moment that are of that level, but we some really cool players we've produced. Harry Kewell is another player similar to Darren Anderton. People criticise for being, oh, he's always injured. Well, yeah, shit. Sometimes you get injured, and Harry Kewell played through injuries as well too soon. Because this is what football players are like. I'm pretty sure, unless you're Hugo Lloris or Eric Dyer hurting your little finger, all you want to do is play football. Football players cover up injuries all the bloody time to play. So you really do need a medical department that's on it, that holds those players back from doing too much, let alone what Spurs have, which is back in the day, a totally incompetent medical department that would give people the all clear. So Harry Kewell was a player like that, I don't know, why do people ever go at players for getting injured? I mean, Christ's sake, I find it quite sad. Jason Cummings is a Dragon D's nuts. Says Jason Cummings is an Aussie Scot from the A-League that could play under Ange. Just a thought. I'm not aware of Jason Cummings. I'm not aware of really anything in the A-League. It's not a league I follow. I watched it a bit when Ange was at Brisbane Roar and Melbourne Victory because they were good teams. It's funny. I'm not really quite sure why it hasn't grabbed me, because the last big live football game I went to in Australia, apart from, because I go and see local teams now and then, because I just, sometimes I just like having a fix of football. I did see This was quite a long time ago. This was Western Sydney Wanderers versus Guangzhou. It was in the Asian Champions League, which I think Western Sydney Wanderers went on to win that year. So however long ago that was. And I'll tell you what, the atmosphere in the crowd was really good. The fans were singing and thumping and chanting. So I don't know why I've never really gone back to it. I don't know, because when I've been to like rugby league games, I've really been to rugby league games. There isn't that same atmosphere. I mean, that is one thing that I really miss about. There's only a couple of things I miss about England. I miss going to football games. I miss English pubs, and I miss central heating for about 2 months of the year, because no house has got central heating here. And even though it doesn't really get that cold in the winter, like it's the depths of winter now, I'll tell you what the temperature is at the moment. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. Oh, it's 14 degrees, which is quite cold actually. It will get up to 19, so it never gets to minus or anything like that. But no house here is built for winter, so it's just bloody freezing. And Australians just don't do pubs right. And the football, the atmosphere was just a killer at White Hart Lane. And all you get here is more. I mean, you get cheering when people score, and I'm not saying people aren't passionate about following their clubs here, but there isn't that same culture of singing. I used to not talk for at least a day after going to Spurs, because you just be singing and shouting, and it was so much fun, man, for an hour, and you just bugger up your voice. Whereas here, there isn't quite that. I did go to a league game last weekend, and it was a lot of fun actually. It was a beautiful ground up on the Central Coast in Gosford, and the atmosphere, even though it wasn't all singing all the time, it was actually a cool atmosphere. You could tell people enjoyed their game. Is Gascoigne going to have a crack? He is. Oh, I say, brilliant. That's schoolboy's own stuff. I bet he can't believe it. Is there anything left from this man to surprise us? Was that Motson, or was that Brian Moore? I think it was Motson, wasn't it? He is. It's the way these guys used to paint. You know, the great commentators would be that. I mean, that sums up. And I saw another a comment from Aaron about Murray Walker. It was they used to talk like children. You know what? It is getting cold in here. I'm going to turn my heater on. Hang on. There we go. God, 17 degrees in here at the moment. God, no wonder I'm nippy. Yeah, the great commentators are the ones that they just have this childlike enthusiasm from the game. You know, no whatever the sport, no matter what it is, and it's not about opinions. It's not about analysis or anything like that. Like I think it was during the World Cup. It was during the World Cup, and the coverage here now that you know Les Murray and Johnny Warren have gone is a bit how you're going. And during the games, they'd have three commentators. Three. You'd have the ball by ball, and then you'd have a bit of a colour commentator, and then you'd have another one, and like the colour commentator is good as well. But when you've got someone who's giving an analysis, one they say, oh well, this team needs to do this and this, it kind of I don't want to hear commentators say that. I don't know why. I don't know why, but I just like the boyish enthusiasm, which is why, I like listening to the watch-alongs while watching the TV on the Irish Hotspur because, there's a bit of they should do this and all that, but it's totally biased. It's totally biased and one-eyed, and I'm up for that. It's great. That was one of the greatest kicks the stadium has ever seen. Yeah, and Aaron says sadly that the FA Cup final was Gazza's last game. And going back to Alan fucking Sugar, you buy a football club and then you see your £5 million investment go up in smoke. Ugh, ugh, gives me the creeps. Aaron says Melbourne Victory used to get some good crowds in the late and noughties. Then they moved to that poxy Seagull Stadium and City Global made a new team. Yeah, like I say, I didn't really follow A-League an awful lot. It's because because I think what it might be is because there's no promotion and relegation. So I'm very aware when I'm watching football in Australia that I'm watching a franchise game, and for me takes so much out of it because that potential of you know if an Arsenal, let's just take a random team, Arsenal. If they were really rubbish for 4 years on the trot, they'd be out of the football league altogether. It adds something to it when you've just got franchise football. The last half of the season is meaningless. You've got nothing to play for. So I don't like it. Though they are bringing in promotion relegation to the A League. Maybe I'll get into it then. Maybe that'll be exciting. And I suppose I like Coover's theory that the first crowd you see, that's the team that you end up supporting. So if I did follow an A-League team in Sydney, it's going to be Western Sydney Wanderers, which is a bit down the road. But that's the first crowd I went to go. Actually, you know what? I can actually lie on the couch and do this. I discovered this yesterday. Oh, look at that. Oh, as long as my head doesn't disappear into Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Oh, I've been leaning forward for so long. That feels so good. You've got to take these little wins in life, I enjoy this. I'm going to just keep going for a bit, until comments dry up or whatever. This is cool. Thanks for all the comments. It. I'm not a big one on saying click like and subscribe and all that sort of shit, but and also like when if I upload a video, I know people comment, but I'll read those comments and I might click the like in it, but I won't respond to those comments. And part of the reason for that is years and years ago when I had a massive YouTube channel, I felt bad about that point where when you're starting off and you're responding to comments and da 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 da, and then down the track you end up getting hundreds of comments and you just can't even interact with anyone. I kind of feel a bit bad for the people that were there from the beginning that you were interacting with, and now you're no longer because you just can't do it anymore. So I mean, I do like the comments, but I won't be responding to them. I prefer to just make it look as if I'm ignoring everyone from the get-go, you know. And I know that's not what you're supposed to do when you're building a channel, but you know, to me, that's a more honest way of doing it. You know, I'm not going to be interacting with people and then suddenly pull the plug when I'm all like, you know, showtime and shit, if that ever happens. So bear with me. I hope that's understandable. But this is quite cool, you know. Comments here. This is quite fun, eh? You know. Aaron says Spurs there since 1882. That's right, man. And I've mislaid my nicotine device of choice. There we go. Australia, the nanny state's going to ban these, you know. I don't know. What do they want? People go back on cigarettes? Because I'm pathetic. I could never give up smoking. But when I started vaping, it's like easy, man. In Australia, you have to go to a doctor and get a prescription to get nicotine imported. They're banning this. And it's the same old shit. It's the same as football. Tidy it up for the children. Oh, we've got to protect the children. There's no kid coming anywhere near this. I'm not gonna. I actually live near a school. I'm not gonna go out there. Hey kids, want some nicotine? Bloody hell! All you got to do is stop selling it to them, like they did with cigarettes and booze. For God's sake, let adults make their own choice. Especially pathetic adults like me who grew up in an area where every fucker smoked. Everyone smoked on the TV. You'd see films of people in hospital, and the doctor would come around with round spectacles and say, "Oh, hello, sir, cigarette." That's what I grew up with, so I'm a bloody nicotine advert. You know, let me have an easy life, man. I ain't got long to go. I'm over the halfway point. My generation will go away, and then you can get rid of it all. Barry Davies, okay. Barry Davies was a bloody Spurs fan as well, so that was really cool. But he never showed it, I don't think, in his commentary. But I wouldn't know because I'm a Spurs fan. Yeah, okay, Dragon. So relegation is coming to the A League. Yeah, the two divisions. I heard they were taking submissions for doing who's going to be in the second division. But really, you know, if you open it up all the way down like the European or English system, then you don't have to you don't have to nominate teams, do you? You know, there is already a league structure in Australia that could be used to just tap into the A League. And you know, from conversations I've had with people that have been involved in football coaching and stuff like that in Australia, the A League is kind of a closed shop jobs for the boys at the moment. That's probably why the standard of football isn't as good as it could really be in Australia. And there are teams that are in leagues that are below the A League that could probably kick the A League's ass. I think in our cup, you know, a lot of the lower division teams that are blocked out of the A League by that false barrier, that false ceiling, are very capable of competing with them. And I think if they really opened it up, it would get the fans going again. Because I think even though the National Soccer League was, you know, it wasn't the number one sport or anything. I think you had a lot of fans that really cared about their local teams. You know, St George and Apia, Marconi, you know, all this sort of stuff. You know, even my local team, Gladesville and Ride Magic, they've got blue and white all over their crest. It's a Greek-based club, and you know, I'm all for that sort of thing. I love it. You know, I'm all for people retaining their cultural roots because Australia hasn't got any culture, and football's part of that. You know, it makes those communities feel alive and together, and I love it. I really do. Aaron says with relegation in. Is your surname pronounced Dove? Because I gave my daughter my eldest daughter, her middle name is Siobhan. So I'm just wondering if that BH is pronounced VAR. I'm not a big expert on Gaelic, but you know, I've got Irish roots, my mum and all that. So that's why my kid's got an Irish name. We've got relegation in Ireland. My team, Bray Wanderers, go on you Wanderers, are in the second division. But I still go. It's tradition. Yeah, well, you know, it's fun, isn't it? And You know, when you look up and down a country like England, and especially in the north of England, which is where professional football really kicked off. I mean, the crowds they get at non-league and lower division leagues is brilliant. There's actually there's a channel I really like watching now and then. It's called Footy Adventures. You know what? I'll see if I can put the link in the comments. Let's see if I've got the technology to do this. Bear with me while I fuck about a bit. I mean, he's got loads of followers, but um, you know, I just like to pass goodness on. Let's have a look at this guy. Copy. Where's copy link? Copy link. There we go. Do. Paste. There we go. Hopefully that came up, did it? Yeah, it did. No spam stuff. So this is a guy that goes round. He does a lot of visiting Scottish football grounds and non-league and in fact all football stadiums in England. But I enjoy his videos and for me it's part of following Ange at Celtic was also watching a lot of this guy's videos going around Scottish clubs, and that really cemented in my mind that particularly in England there's a lot of snobbery towards Scottish football. But when you actually see the fans and you see some of the games up there, I think they've got a fine game up there, and I think Scottish fans can be very proud. And some of the grounds are fantastic. Was it Inverness? It's almost on a cliff. They're in in these rural areas, but the whole community would revolve around their football club, and that's something I really love seeing. There's something I think is like is almost going from a lot of Premier League clubs as they're moving around, moving to bigger stadiums like Tottenham have done. We lose a little bit of that, and I'm a bit of a romantic where football's concerned. Just be an Aussie, mate. Straight up, no bollocks. No, I'm a citizen of the world, man. Citizen of the world. I'm an old. Look, it's called the Hotspur hippie. I'm a hippie, man. Countries don't really have a meaning for me. I think if we could just wander wherever the bloody hell we wanted, the world would be a better place. And governments all over the world telling people what to do, riling people up against each other are all bloody useless to an extent. I just, so I don't know. Sometimes I'd say I'm English, sometimes I'd say I'm Irish, and sometimes I'd say I'm Australian. None of that is really important to me. I'd never carry a gun for it. And, but I'm Tottenham. That's it, Tottenham through and through. Oh, Strasbourg Steve is in the house, the football brain on the internet who seems to bloody know everything. Oh dear! Now, what I'll do is I'll just have a quick look on Twitter before I go, just to see if there's any Spurs news to talk about. I mean, I'm not going to react to bloody rumours and speculation because that's all arse to me. I'm not going to participate in that clicking, chasing thing. I'm not up for that at all. Let's see. Let's just go to who I'm following here. Is there anything good here? No. Rumours, speculation. No. All crap. Let's see what's the latest from Spurs official. Not last word on Spurs. Spurs official. The search on bloody Twitter is so crap. What have we got here? Oh, here's something. I haven't seen this. Club chairman Daniel Levy has held a video call. Oh, I need a video for news flash. This was 7 hours ago. Club chairman Daniel Levy has held a video call with representatives of our key supporter groups ahead of the launch of our new fan advisory board. I thought that was only like mentioned like seems like a couple of weeks ago, and have they already picked the board members and everything? They did that quick. I'm sure that was all above board. All right, let's see what Coy's Daniel has to say. And of course, Spurs website is one that doesn't wrap around on a mobile phone. Arseholes. Get that right. Social media at Tottenham. You're bloody rubbish. Right, here we go. Live. Club chairman Daniel Levy. If I had any internet sense, I'd probably stop this and go live again and give it the headline to get some clicks. But here we go. That's the way it goes. Club chairman Daniel Levy has held a video call with representatives of our key supporter groups ahead of the launch of our new fan advisory board. FAB. FAB. You know what FAB means to me? This is what FAB. I'll show you what FAB means to me. Let's find it. I'm sure I'll be able to find it. Bear with me a second, all 7 of you. Oh, look, this is as good as any. Oh, I'm getting confused by my computer. Okay, there we go. Let's get that up. Let's get this up. This is what FAB. It will never be anything else. There we go. There we go. That's what FAB means to me. Thunderbirds. Thunderbirds. Which for you kids out there was an old puppet show. I mean, you know what? Don't they? Don't they? I mean, look. Maybe it's just the way my weird mind works. But I would have thought I'm not the only one that has come to this same conclusion. I don't think this would be a unique conclusion to draw. The FAB directly means Thunderbirds, which is a puppet show like that. So when they talk about the fans thing, all I imagine is fans just going, "Oh, here's Daniel, FAB." So anyway, there we go. Oh shit. Right. So, right, Daniel chatted with the members of the Tottenham Hotspur Supporters Trust, proud Lily Whites. Okay. Tottenham Hotspur Supporters Trust, proud Lily Whites, Spurs ability and Spurs reach. I don't really know much about those groups, but they probably do all right. They're fans, I suppose. And thank them for their roles in negotiating the terms of the FAB, while also discussing a range of current topics, including new football personnel, fan diversity and inclusion, and greater fan engagement. Okay, look, if fan diversity and inclusion is all about better facilities for people in wheelchairs or whatever, people that are struggling to get around, I think that's a fantastic thing. Because there shouldn't be a barrier to going to supporting a football team. You know what I mean? And whether that's how well you can get around, and I take it even further, like even how much money you've got. It's a barrier to people. When I used to go, there were unemployed people on the dole, people sneaking in, and it's all about the dollar sign on your head these days. On the formation of the FAB, Daniel said, "We're delighted that we set up this organisation to work together. Better communication will bring our fans closer to the club. This enhanced dialogue will enable us to better consult and communicate." Asked about the appointment of Ange, how long is this going to go on for? Look, I'm just going to speed read this because it's all guff, isn't it? It's all guff. I've got to hold my phone like this because Spurs website is dog shit. Okay, head coach. We made a conscious decision that we wanted a coach who would understand what we really want. Attacking football, blah, blah, blah. Heard it before. Player recruitment. Oh, this is an interesting bit of spice. On the subject of player recruitment, Daniel said the notion that Tottenham haven't backed certain managers is incorrect. We're currently paying the price, perhaps, where some of the acquisitions have not turned out to be as we hoped. That's an interesting comment there, isn't it? So what Daniel's inferring there is we've just done exactly what the managers have said, and because the managers have been so crap, that's why we're in such a shit state. I mean, that's just bollocks, isn't it? I mean, that really is 100% bullshit. I mean, what Levy would be fair enough saying is we have spent money, da 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 da, but backing certain managers, au contraire, mes amis, au contraire, mon frère. Plans disabled access, all right, that's good. Although, you know what, it's a brand new stadium, so why the fuck that hasn't been done from the get-go, that's a bit disappointing in my eyes. You're spending all that money on a stadium, why can't you get access right straight away? I mean, there's no excuse, is there? Anyway, they're getting round to it. Diversity, okay, we've taken perhaps a greater role, this is Daniel Levy, talking about diversity, we've taken perhaps a greater role than other clubs in trying to lead and influence the regeneration of the area, gentrification. We do give a lot to the local community, compulsory purchase orders, and Foundation plays a very important role. We've given more than 11,000 tickets to the local community over the 12 months. Okay, that's all right. Both for football and for concerts. Fuck the concerts. Who gives a shit about concerts? We'd like to see our fan base become increasingly diverse. That's something we'll look into to grow as we promote inclusivity and monitor this. Yeah, no problem at all with any of that. That's all cool by me. I think, one of the things that first appealed to me about Tottenham was what a broad church it was. There's certain clubs, their fans are kind of homogenous, if you know what I mean. The Chelseas of this world, a bit homogenous. I think Tottenham's got a nice old mix. And in fairness to Arsenal, I think they're like that as well. My gripe with Arsenal is more of a sporting rivalry, and I don't like their fans either. But that's because of the sport, whereas Chelsea I just hate. They're just horrible people. I'm generalising, but that's the way I feel about it. And then he's talking about financial fair play, and I'm not interested in that. Of course, he's agitating for Premier League rules to be tightened. Of course, he would, and that's fair enough. If you were in his position, you'd do exactly the same. So what we got? I'd like to thank a few people from this and that and this and that. Doobie doobie doo. Applications for supporters to join FAB closed in mid-May, and there'll be elections. Oh, later this month. Oh, okay, there we go. I think to join something like that, I think you've got to be an actual Spurs member, and I think for me to become a Spurs member is about like 80 quid or something like that, which, quite frankly, I ain't doing. It's not worth it. I like to support the club. I think supporting the club by paying $1,000 for various football subscriptions to watch 4 different competitions is enough. Thankfully, Spurs are shit in competition, so by the end of the season, I can whittle it down to 1. Yeah, you know what? I'm all for a bit. I didn't know we had a group called the Lily Whites, the LGBT, and all that. So, I think stuff like that's cool. I'm all for that. There's, the main bees in my bonnet that I have in life are more around racism. I can't stand it, and the thing I really love about racist, the dumb fuckers want to be me because I've got blonde hair and blue eyes. Ha ha, wankers. But making it cool for everyone to go and enjoy a football game. Football is for everyone. I love it. Love all that. Oh, well, let's see if we got any more comments. Poor Aaron Dove. I got the Dove. I got the pronunciation right. Okay, all right. I'll be speaking fluent Gaelic in no long. Melbourne Victory, Aussie team. Okay, all right. Okay, so you would have a good old fun time then when Ange was in charge before he got the call up to the national team. Those blow-ins down the road, Melbourne City, Melbourne City. See, this is something I don't like about Scott Munn, man. Actually, Dragon, you might know a bit more about Scott Munn than me. My impression of Scott Munn is, as with a lot of football or sports administrators in Australia, he's a white Anglo private school boy. His dad's probably a politician or a senior police officer. These people just come. They just plop straight out of private school into uni, into administration jobs. You know, when I saw this guy was on the SOCOG, which was the Sydney Organising Committee for the 2000 Olympics, he was on that when he must have been a bloody fetus. And then he goes to Melbourne Heart, they were called. They were called Melbourne Heart, and because it was part of the City Group, changed their name to Melbourne City. And that just gets my cock in a twist, that sort of stuff. But total disregard for fans, changing names, changing identity. Like there was I hate RB Leipzig. You know, a mate of mine was shocked when I said, "Yeah, RB's Red Bull, mate. It's just branding." And then there's OG Broom Hall, those open goal guys. Bought in, had a partnership with Broom Hall. Instead of just leaving the bloody team name alone, they had to put their name in it. I hate that. I hate that. Can you imagine? What you know? I don't know. What's a big old company? And they usually do it by initials, don't they? So Coca-Cola, it goes into partnership with Tottenham, and suddenly we become CC Tottenham Hotspur. Wouldn't that just explode your balls? I mean, I couldn't do it, man. So Dragon, yeah, if you got any opinions about Scott Munn, they're probably more educated than mine because I'm totally unfamiliar with the guy. The only thing is, if he was one of the voices that got Ange in, yeah, do that and shut up and just keep quiet, mate. Let Ange run the show. He knows what he's doing. You ain't a football person. All right. Well, while I was reading it out, let's see if we've got any comments about Daniel's little words there. Aaron says, "Bring back the Commodore 64." Yeah, it's a masterpiece, man. Yeah. You. I can tell by that. Here we go. I can tell by that you are one of those rich, spoilt kids. I had the tape drive, man. You had a disc drive. Oh, you could experience loading times quicker than like 30 seconds, whereas I had to sit there for 5 minutes watching a squiggly screen. Oh, Lord Aran of Dublin. Oh, my liege. Hoity toity, man. The landed gentry are here. uh, Dragged these nuts. I'm in regional Vic, but Victory were the only Victorian team when they started the A League. I was South Melbourne supporter. Nice, good on you, man. So, did you go to games? I mean, I went to. I didn't really have a club as such in Sydney, but I went to a couple of RPA games and St George Budapest, mainly because Aussie Idealists played one game for St George Budapest. So I've not got a Hungarian bone in my body. I don't know anyone from Hungary, but if I was to say I had an old team, it would be St George Budapest. I think I like. So Aaron says, in fairness, I know a season ticket holder who's in a wheelchair. He didn't renew because of facilities this year. He gave up his season ticket because of Enoch. I mean, you know, that is really poor, isn't it? And I know in the world there's a load of people out there in internet Lutterland that like to go on about political correctness going mad and you can't say this and you can't say that and everyone's a snowflake. But I think fuck all those cunts. I love it all. And but I'm amazed. I didn't know this, man. I didn't know that Our brand new stadium was shit house. That is absolutely outrageous, isn't it? I mean, God. Phil P's off to bed. Bye bye, Phil. Much love to Paul. Thank you very much, dude. Thanks for watching along. I'm Irish, but moved to ELB. Oh, Vic were the only other team. Team that played in Albert Park. I merged. Things became Victory, so I just went Victory. Yeah, and see, that was the thing about the A League. They had to shuffle around a lot of the National League teams around and merging. I'll tell you what, this is another way that money has absolutely knackered games. Like my non-league team in England would have been Hayes Town FC. My dad was friends with the pub owner there. Used to see the odd game there. Local rivals would have been Yedding FC. Then they get purchased. Da 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 da. Oh, we recognise synergies and all that and growing together. So they just merged these two clubs and they became Hayes and Yedding FC. And it's just bullshit, man. Bullshit. I hate it. Just leave the bloody clubs alone. And if they go down a few divisions, they go down. But they remain pure. So maybe that's a reason why I find the A-League a bit sort of artificial, because they kind of had to do a bit of that shit with all these teams that were going from like the 70s or earlier. It kind of knackered it a little bit. Albert Park, all right, man. That's cool. That's where they do the F1. Lord Aaron of Dublin says, I wasn't rich. My brother nicked it, you wanker. Nah, you can try and what are you like? You're like Jamie Oliver, who I think, or one of those people. Maybe it was Russell Brand, who had a fairly privileged upbringing, but that's all right like that. One of the people, one of these people that puts on a common accent. That's you, mate, with your Commodore 65. Was it 1581 distro or 1531, whatever the fuck it was. A friend of mine had one of them. He was rich, living in a posh house in Greenford. Phil P says, I hate Arsenal because I'm a Tottenham fan. I hate Chelsea brocade. I'm a human being. Mahatma Gandhi. Get fucked. Well, wasn't it Osama bin Laden was an Arsenal fan, apparently? So there you go. Dragon, I've never heard of Scott Mann until he joined Spurs. I just know if he was involved with Melbourne City, then I don't like him. Okay, right. So I think for different reasons, we're kind of on the same wavelength. They're a rival of yours, but sports administrators in this country are absolute crap. And something has kind of irked me a little bit. In fact, it was yesterday. I was searching for Ange Postecoglou's stuff, and there's this suit there from Football Australia talking about how great Ange is. Just trying to have a bit of second-hand glory when Football Soccer Australia, they dicked him around and fucked him around. I can't stand Football Australia. Bunch of muppets, absolute muppets. Ange was his own man. Ange told Football Australia that, hey, because they wanted him to play in a certain style of play. And when he didn't do it, they were getting the shits with him. And then he qualified us to the World Cup, and then he just left. He said, bugger you. I've done all I can in this country if that's your attitude. And he was right, I gave up Enix because he said this. He gave up because he said the facility's good, Paul, for that. Why did he give up his season ticket? I don't know. I'm not following there, mate. Okay, fuck Melbourne City. Just another City Group accounting scam team. Yeah. And this is one area where I would disagree with Sean Butler, but I wouldn't have a discussion about him because there's no point. I know what he thinks, and then he'd know what I think, but I wouldn't really argue the point about it. I just feel that these groups investing in a lot of football clubs, again, it's just another thing that's knackering the game, man. I don't like this idea of feeder teams, because okay, you might have a team that Man City or the City Group own that's crap, but their supporters have still got this dream, man, that their club can do something. But we know now that there is a glass ceiling on that, because as soon as their players become talented, they're going to go to one of their bigger clubs like Man City. And maybe that would happen. They would sell players anyway, but it wouldn't always be going to Man City. It'd be a bit more organic, you know. I just, yeah, I hate it. And if Tottenham's future relies on something like that, I'd rather be as a championship team, you know. I mean, that's strong. Maybe that's not quite true. But, you know, I don't like things that knacker the game of football. Oh, there we go. Yeah, Aaron. Okay, this is Irish privilege. 2 potatoes at dinner at lunchtime. At dinner. There, fair enough. Fair enough. Trump's son supports the goons. Enough said. In it. Big up minerals. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Is minerals in the house? Oh, look, I don't want to get political on this. I'm not. I don't want to get political on this channel, but I feel you there. I mean, I feel you. What a fucking lunatic. Boris Johnson's my MP. Can you believe that? That's where I lived, Uxbridge. He's my MP. He represents me. Can you believe it? Fuck me. Ugh. Used to be a good lad on SBS in Australia, but I think passed away 2010. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Les Murray. Les Murray. Les Murray was fantastic, dude. Loved the guy. Absolutely loved the guy. There's a really interesting kind of documentary about Les Murray, about how he escaped Hungary in the aftermath of the 50s uprising against the Soviet Union, when the Soviet Union just came in and just killed everyone, basically. Now times have changed, eh? And he was one of him and his family were some of the people that fled from Hungary. And you know, like Ferenc Puskás left Hungary. You know, there's a lot of people left that country who just didn't want to, just had enough of it. It's horrible what went on over there. But yeah, Les Murray, and like I said earlier, with Johnny Warren, who passed away a bit, probably 2005, maybe 2004. Boris, the dude's great on rugby pitch against 8-year-old Japanese kids. Yeah, what? Oh, Johnny Wilkinson. You know, rugby, I would go probably for England or Ireland. I don't know. I don't know. I'd have to see them play. Probably more Ireland in the rugby. But I was ecstatic when England won the World Cup. It was fantastic, that Johnny Wilkinson kid, because that team, you can see when teams have a bit of spirit about them. You know, that's what I dig, because I'm more in the up for the touchy feely side of that. You know, this is a wonderful thing about football. You know, if you want to be, you know, an emotional person like myself, you can feel football. And if you're more, you know, a bit more, you know, logical and statistically minded, then football is the game for you. But it's just not something I'm into. Well, you know what? I've been going 2 hours, man. So I think I'm going to wind it up there. I might come back a bit later. I just want to go and, you know, see what else is happening in the world, and you know, see if there's anything happening that's worth talking about. But thanks, Aaron, for your time, and thanks, Phil. Big up the chat. It's been cool. I've enjoyed it. You know, this is much easier than I mean, even you know, all I do when I'm uploading a video, I just switch my phone on, talk shit for 5 or 10 minutes, and upload it. But the uploading bit's a pain in the ass. I do it on my phone, so this is like dead easy, just switching this on and streaming. Thankfully, when I bought my computer, when I built my computer about 6 or 7 years ago, I really built it up to high specs, because I used to do a lot of sim racing, esports, because I like motor racing, so I was big on competing. And you know what? It was a fantastic time during COVID, because all the professional racers would come in. I used to do this thing called iRacing, so you could test your metal against a real racing driver. And I'm not bigging myself up here, but in one race I did beat Lando Norris. So in my mind, if Lando Norris ever becomes F1 champion, then then that makes me Formula One world champion, doesn't it? Because I'm better than him. Um, anyway, thanks for everything. I'll have to put a video at the end one of these days and do something, and maybe, you know, as if the channel, you know, picks up a bit, I'll do a bit more videos, because I used to do videos and Photoshop and shit like that. for the Sydney Morning Herald and stuff like that years ago. But I've got to get my juices flowing to, you know, get cracking on it a bit. But your intro, "Who Are You" by The Who. Yeah, I'd love it to be a story by a song by the Kinks, but they're Arsenal fans. But I do love the Kinks. Anyway, I will end it there. And as we always say every time, as I click the button, because I know there's a confirmation button that comes up, and it's a few seconds, but this will give me less time to look at the camera uncomfortably while it all freezes and goes to shit. I can now say, "Come on, you Spurs!"